Hi guys, in this episode of Shri series, we'll talk about algebra, but to be more specific, factorization. So if you remember in the previous video that I showed, we talked about expansion. And what happens with expansion is, in a nutshell, whatever is an expression, we're trying to increase the length. All right. So before we focus on these two questions here, let's look at a simple example to illustrate the difference between expansion and factorization, because both are the opposites. So if you look at a situation like this, you've got x plus y, and I want to expand that. All you do is you literally multiply the respective numbers beginning of the brackets and at the end. So when you expand, that becomes ax plus ay. So from here to there, that's what we refer to as expansion, and that's what the previous video was talking about. In this situation, in this scenario, from ax plus ay, we want to get back to the original, and that's what we refer to as factorization. So one thing you need to remember is, like I said in the previous section, that when you're expanding, what's happening is you are getting rid of the bracket. So if you look at a, open brackets, x plus y, close brackets, you're multiplying a by x, which is ax, and then you got a plus, which is plus here, and a times y, that becomes ay. So you can see from here, we're removing the brackets, and that becomes an expansion. But when you're doing the reverse between ax and ay, what you need to remember is, when you're factorizing, your final answer needs to have brackets. If there are no brackets, then you've got the answer wrong. So if you look at this expression, ax plus ay, what you need to remember in your mind is a key word: common. What is common between the expressions ax and ay? And if you look carefully, it's a. A is common between ax and ay. You've got an a here, you got an a there. So normally, sometimes, to illustrate further, what I like to do is I put a tick just to show you that a is common. And that's what you put out, as seen here. And then you open the brackets. What happens is, it's ax, you're dividing it by a, and what remains is x. And ay, you're dividing it by a, and what remains is y. So what I can do here to show you is, literally what's happened is, you've got ax, you're dividing it by a, and then you've got ay, you're dividing it by a, and this is literally what you get, because when you cancel that, you're going to get x plus y, and what remains is the a. So two things you got to remember when you're factorizing: you need to express your answer with the brackets, and you want to find something that is common. What is something that is common? All right, I tend to use the example of a surname. All right, what is common between a family is they have a common surname. What is common between players in a team? They could play the same sport, for example. So when you think of factorization, think of something that is common between two or more expressions. All right, so if you look at this question here, we've got 3x minus 9. The first thing you need to ask yourself, what is common between 3x and 9? In some situations, you could get a letter that's common, or you could get a number that's common, or you could get a number or a letter. But in this situation here, between 3x and 9, what is common is the number 3, because 3 can be divided, 3x can be divided by 3, and 9 can be divided by 3. So what I would do is, I would put a 3 here, open the brackets, because remember, like I mentioned, when you're expanding, you close the brackets, but when you're factorizing, you're opening the bracket. So in your mind, you're going 3x divided by 3. If you solve it mentally, you know that is x. And put a negative there, because the negative number there. And then you go 9 divided by 3, which is 3. Now, for students who are struggling in this question, I give a simple advice. What you can do is, you can work it out like this. All you do is, you go 3x divided by 3 minus 9 divided by 3, and that becomes x minus 3, and then you put the 3 there. But once you become experienced, you can work this out mentally. So your final answer is 3 open brackets x minus 3. And a lot of students ask me in class, how correct am I? Is my answer correct? So what I do is I tell them you can actually certify if the answer is correct. All you got to do is multiply 3 times x and multiply 3 times negative 3, because we've said it here, the opposite of factorization is expansion. So if you want to check if your answer is correct, all you simply need to do is expand, and 3 times x is 3x, which is there, and 3 times negative 9 is negative 3, is negative 9. So this answer is correct. Now, if you look at question number 2 there, what's happened is you've got 2x squared plus 4x. Same as the first question, you need to ask yourself what is common between 2x squared and 4x. Now I can see clearly there's an x that's common. You've got x squared there and you've got an x there. All right. What else is common? You can see that there's a number 2 that's also common, because 2 can be divided by 2 here and 4 can be divided by 2 there. So in this situation here, you can see that the common factor, or the thing that is common, is you've got a number and a letter. So what do? I open my brackets. So it becomes 2x squared divided by 2x, and that becomes x. You put a plus there because a plus there, and 4x divided by 2x is going to be 2. Again, we can use this method. For those who are beginning, all you need to do is you go 2x squared divided by 2x plus 4x divided by 2x, and you will see you're going to get x plus 2, because technically what's happens is the 2 is cancelled out. X squared divided by x, what remains is x. That x and x are cancelled out, and that becomes 2, and then all you need to do is put 2x there. And what I'll do is I'll put different colors, so in that way you don't see that confusion between this explanation and that one here. Now, again, if you're not sure if you've got the right answer, all you need to do is you expand it to see if you can get back to that. So all you do is you go 2x times x, and that is 2x squared, put a plus there, and 2x times 2, which is 4x. So therefore my answer is correct. So always remember, when you're factorizing, your answer needs to have a bracket. So if you look at this question, the answer had a bracket here, and for this question the answer had a bracket here. The next thing you need to do is find out what is common between the respective expressions. All right, what is that number or letter, or both a number and a letter, that can be divisible easily by the two expressions in a question? You leave that out, you open your bracket, and then you divide like the way I've worked it out here, and then you put the respective sign, and then you put the brackets, and then you get the answer. And the last thing is, if you want to confirm if you're correct, you can do the reverse, which is expansion, which is illustrated here, to see if you got it correct. But once you get used to it, you become confident. You don't even need to do any of those steps. You just simply write the correct answer. Thank you. Bye now.